Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and we're back looking at the concept of urban freeway removal. Last time we looked at Houston and its wild North Houston Highway Improvement Project. Go check out that video if you haven't seen it. We're working our way down the most populated US metros list. Up next is our nation's capital, Washington D.C. This is the country's 7th largest metro behind Miami, which we did out of order. The DC Metro has a population of 6.4 million. The District of Columbia has a population of 700,000, and of course, it's a little different from most US cities. It is the center of federal governance. Unlike most other large cities in the US, it is a planned city. Chicago is another one of note. Like Chicago, DC also has lots of space dedicated to the public, and it also was largely planned in the time before the invention of the automobile. As such, it has a very different layout than a more modern city like Los Angeles. There are different considerations in DC as well, like the aesthetics of the capital area, the Capitol Mall, and its various monuments. However, attitudes toward those have changed over time, including the mid-20th century when a wave of freeway building swept through the Washington, D.C. area, including some in the Capitol itself. In this video, our target is a combination of Interstate 66 and the Whitehurst Freeway between the Lincoln Memorial and Georgetown. These are two stub freeways totaling 1.5 miles in length. Rebuilding Interstate 66 was studied by the National Capital Planning Commission in 2023. I'm going to use that design as a guide, and I'll reference it as we go. The Whitehurst Freeway is elevated over Water Street through Georgetown, and we're simply going to remove it. As always, I'll give you 3 versions with varying amounts of development. The first will be all parkland. We're starting at the Capitol, and we'll glide down the National Mall just to get you oriented, over the Washington Monument, and then hang a right at the Lincoln Memorial, and you're there. The commission plan is to bury some of the freeway under a large mound and cap the rest, with most of the surface serving as parks. I've simplified things a little, leaving out their roundabout for Constitution Avenue. This provides a nice continuity between the Lincoln Memorial and the Kennedy Center. Before the freeway and the Kennedy Center were built, Constitution Avenue extended to the Potomac, and the area between it and the Lincoln Memorial was a park, so we've sort of returned things to that state. I've left the entire mound area as an irregular open great park. This serves as something of a continuation of the waterfront parks to the south. Here, Interstate 66 would connect with the E Street Freeway underground. The big idea is for the freeway to let out from under Virginia Avenue before hooking up with the Rock Creek and Potomac Parkway. Removal of the Whitehurst Freeway and simplification of the interchange here would free up 13 acres to serve as a green center for the Georgetown area. Without the Whitehurst, continuity between the community and the waterfront is returned. Water Street would then continue on as a surface street like it is now, only without the freeway above it. The commission option is similar, but it retains the Whitehurst Freeway. The next option is identical at the Great Park site between the Lincoln Memorial and the Kennedy Center. In this area, the commission has a grand approach to the Kennedy Center from E Street, which is pretty cool, but I opted to keep it simple. Now at Virginia Avenue near the Watergate complex, we have some additional development consuming 9 of the 13 available acres, with the rest retained as Georgetown's green center. Georgetown, I have the same. While the waterfront does represent 6 acres of possible development, I have so far left existing parks as parks in these videos. And finally, the most dense version. Great Park still mostly intact, with a new building for the State Department's mysterious Naval Observatory Complex. Gotta keep an eye on those late night meetings in the park. More buildings near the Kennedy Center while retaining the line of sight from E Street. The area has a pretty good mix of uses, so these buildings could be anything. Then our 13 acres at Virginia Street is fully built out. These buildings are fairly low because DC has a general height limit of 130 feet. And then, surprise, in Georgetown, still no waterfront development. But as mentioned previously, that would be about 6 acres worth, limited to somewhere between 90 and 130 feet in height. The new Interstate 66 configuration is slightly more efficient with a similar throughput to current. New transit would be needed to make up for the loss of the Whitehurst. The nearest metro stop is a half-mile away at Foggy Bottom GWU, which is technically walkable but not super convenient. You'd probably need better or additional bus service in the area from there to the Rosslyn metro stop on the other side of the Potomac in Arlington. So what do you think of beautifying our nation's capital by burying an ugly and somewhat ill-advised freeway stub while improving the connection between Georgetown and its waterfront by removing an elevated freeway? And what do you think of the National Capital Planning Commission plan? Does it fit in with the rest of the area? Let me know what you think in the comments. Plenty more videos to come in this series. Up next, we'll head to Atlanta, which has a lot of high-speed rail potential and a lot of gnarly freeway stuff going on that's just begging to be ripped out. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big, beautiful freeway.